So I'm here with my second home inspector, Tyler Mazaris. Yes, same last name because he is my son, and he decided to join the family business here after a fruitful experience in college for 4 years that had nothing to do with home inspecting or construction, and decided to join and become a home inspector. What, Tyler, 4 or 5 years ago when you were what? How old were you?
I was 22, maybe 23, fresh out of
23.
school. Yeah.
I had concerns because you were pretty young at that age, even though you just graduated from college, to be a home inspector and be able to communicate findings about houses to people twice your age. And so, how did that work? How did you feel about as being at that young age and starting to learn to become a home inspector? And why did you choose? Let's just start there. Why did you choose to become a home inspector after college?
So I obviously had the advantage of being able to shadow you around, you know, for free whenever I wanted to.
Right.
So I got a very detailed, in-depth look at life as a home inspector. And I was very fortunate to have that opportunity. And while I was in school studying botany and horticulture, I did a few internships and I enjoyed it, but I didn't like sort of the glimpse into my future that I was getting, which would be, working, you know, regular long hours, 40-hour weeks, 50-hour weeks that people typically do. And a lot of the people that I had to deal with and that I encountered just seemed a little bit jaded. And I liked the prospect of potentially, working in a field where every day was a bit different. I was always dealing with different people, and I was directly helping and impacting people's lives, which is what we do. So ultimately, after spending a summer working with you, I decided that's what I wanted to do. And then sort of touching on what you were talking about as far as difficulties that I had regarding getting started
Well,
at
yeah,
such a young
you had
age.
you had when you decided to, join the business, that you had zero construction knowledge, experience, or trades, or any of the trades experience or knowledge, right? So you really started from ground zero. So tell me about what that was like, starting from ground zero, and how you got educated and knowledgeable enough to be successful where you are today.
It's very doable. Obviously, most of our inspectors start from very limited knowledge in construction, but it's very possible to get to a place with no beginner's knowledge or no jumping off point as a home inspector. So for me, a key thing that got me through all of it was seeming extremely confident, and then being able to regurgitate, just sort of word for word the way that you communicated information to clients. Because being, you know, and looking the age that I am or that I was when I got started, early 20s, right off the bat, nobody wants to trust what I'm saying, especially if I'm inspecting a house for, like a 40-year-old man who knows a little bit about construction, which everyone thinks they know a little bit about construction. Right off the bat, they're not going to really trust me. So it's really all about, even if you're not confident, just faking confidence. That's sort of
So
how I got
then,
through.
so then that's a good point. So then at what point in your career trajectory did you think you crossed into having real confidence and, you know, being able to stand up and present yourself to any client that you met in the field, which nowadays, being having done thousands of inspections, I think by this point, at 28, you having 5 years experience in the field and you can stand up with the best of them now. But that transition from faking it till you make it, at what point did you think that you made it?
It's difficult to say. Looking back, I think it took me probably 3 to 4 years to really, really be there, but in the moment, it didn't feel that way. I think I got comfortable, within 2 years of doing it to where I felt like I could handle anything and deal with anyone, but, looking back on it from right now, uh, I don't think I really was, like, at an elite level until about 4 years in. But I was comfortable, at about 2 years, I would say.
Right. And so, what advice would you give a young person who, let's say, is in their early 20s, thinking about becoming a home inspector, and whether they should, shouldn't, or if they do, what they ought to be doing while they're becoming one?
Yeah,
And
I
granted,
mean,
they're not going to have the opportunity that you did growing into a family business. I mean, what about the young person who is interested, and wants to pursue it as a career, but they don't have the opportunity to work in someone else's business to do it?
the key thing with home inspecting is, you know, what sets us apart, I think, from a lot of other inspectors isn't really our technical knowledge or our ability to inspect a home. There's a threshold that you have to hit as far as being good at what we do, but you can get there relatively easily with the, right amount of coursework and experience. But the key thing is getting good at communicating with people and properly handling clients and handling realtors. So what I would say, is the most important thing starting out, especially for a young person, is just mastering that aspect of it. And so if you have anyone in your life, I guess, that is willing to just deal with you, then I would recommend, doing your research as you're going through your coursework and you read about certain issues. Try to make up scenarios where you have to explain to a client or walk somebody through this issue and explain why it's a problem, how it can be corrected, how serious it is, and just do that until just do it as much as you can. I think that level of experience where you get to the point where you can just see any degree of issues and be able to, you know, pull out sort of a boilerplate template templated response or explanation to something. That's what's going to really set you apart and make you prepared uh, in this field or this industry. Um, and that wasn't a great way to explain that, but it's really
Oh,
just all about.
that's a good point. I was always impressed by the fact that you decided to purchase a triplex and rehab a good deal of it yourself, hands on. Do you think that maybe that process helped you become a better inspector? And if so, would you recommend that a young person can maybe accelerate their career as a home inspector by taking on their own project, like flipping a house and doing all the repairs and so forth themselves?
Yeah, I mean, that definitely accelerated my, knowledge and my skill set as a home inspector. Definitely, it made me more comfortable explaining things because you know, starting out, I would be telling people what's wrong with the house and what to do about it just because I had read about what to do about it. I'd heard other people talk about it. But then once I had actually done the work myself, I felt way more confident in explaining it. So, yeah, I would say it's definitely a helpful thing to do. I'm not going to recommend necessarily somebody get into a major, massive renovation project just for the sake of being a better home inspector without having any prior knowledge. But um, if you're willing to jump into it, yeah, absolutely. Doing actual work, whether it's plumbing, electrical, or just cosmetic work inside of a house will, definitely pay dividends as far as your ability and experience goes in the construction realm when it comes to home inspecting. So yeah,
Great. What do you like about your job being a home inspector?
I like the flexibility. You know, I I never really wanted to be in an office, so I enjoy the fact that I'm out and about every day, for better or worse, depending on the weather. But I get to see something new every day. An inspection takes 2 hours at most. I'm doing two a day, so you account for driving. I never really have more than a 5 or 6 hour day. It's not necessarily repetitive work because every house is different, so I'm never bored with it. Yeah, I it's mainly the flexibility. That's what I enjoy the most about it. I like sort of being a little bit in control of my own schedule, and then yeah, like today I went to the gym at 11 o'clock, 11 a.m. So that was cool. Most of my friends are in the office right now. So
You'd make
yeah.
any parent proud.